Are you new to cycling and wondering, how do I fuel in order not to get the bonk? Now, if you've not heard of the bonk, in quotations, this is when you go out on your ride, after however long it takes, you run out of energy because you haven't fueled properly and you feel terrible and you never want to ride again. But I haven't had that in years. I haven't bonked in years. I always feel good while I'm out riding on my bike, and that's because I get the nutrition right. So like and subscribe, and that way you'll always want to keep riding your bike. And I'll show you in this video this guide to show you how to fuel properly and not be taken in by all of these adverts and whatnot for all of these nutrition products that I didn't think are up to par. Okay, so my go-to, and I've been cycling now for a number of years, so I'm very well experienced. I've done races and I ride regularly, and I do regular long rides, and I never get the sugar crash, as they call it. Okay, so I fuel with, so I live in the UK, so if you live in the UK you'll probably see packaging like this. So I have this and I put it in my bottle. So I recommend, if you're potentially doing, well, if you're a beginner, maybe an hour or so, you can fuel on this, just this, while you're out riding, and yes, you don't need anything else. So I'll explain it more, so hang around. So I've got 3 different size bottles here for you to choose from. So these are from Elite, a company called Elite. So that's a 550, that's a 750, and that's a 950 milliliter bottle. So I recommend always having at least 100 grams of sugar an hour. Yes, at least 100 grams of sugar an hour. And that doesn't matter if it's a hard ride or an easy ride or however long. Always 100 grams of sugar, and then you'll always feel good. So if you got a 550 ml bottle, I'd recommend 100 grams of sugar. To measure out 100 grams of sugar on a scale, so I have a little electronic scale that I use, and I would then recommend for a 750 ml bottle, I go for about 150 grams of sugar, and then for a 950 I recommend 200 grams of sugar. Now I understand that, well, at the moment in the UK it's not particularly warm, so this is what I'd recommend up to about 15 to 20 degrees, and you can work this out with experience. But once it starts to get warmer, you obviously need more fluids. So I'd still stick with 100 grams of sugar in the 550, but with the 750 I'd recommend then bringing the sugar down and having more water, and having 100 grams of sugar in a 750, and then in the 950 again bring it down to 150 grams and have more fluids. And the way that you make sure that you still got enough sugar, even though you've reduced it in your bottle, is I recommend gummy sweets for on the bike nutrition. And we'll go out now and I'll show you what I'm taking with me. And remember, don't fall for the advertisements. Look at the science behind the reasons why you eat certain fuel. Okay, so I look at the science or the chemistry of what you want. So this is sucrose, so that means in this it's a disaccharide sugar, so it's a molecule of glucose and fructose joined together. So this is the optimal fueling that you want. Sugar, table sugar, is called sucrose, and on the packaging you can see here per 100 grams carbohydrates and sugars. So when they talk about carbohydrates and sugars, don't get confused. They all break down to release glucose, but the most efficient source of glucose, or your energy source, is table sugar. I won't get into depth about how fructose is digested or broken down, but just simply, fructose is not digested the same way as glucose, because fructose goes by the liver, whereas glucose goes a different pathway. But I'll have other videos on that, but we'll keep it nice and easy for now. So I'll make my bottle up. So I'm doing about an hour and a half right now. So I'm gonna have a 750 ml bottle with 150 grams of sugar, and that'll do me well. That won't mean that I need to eat anything else, but I'll take with me other things that I recommend to use. Here we are. We're out on a ride in the beautiful spring day, and I'll show you some of the stuff, some of the fueling that I avoid and that I recommend. Okay, get a bit closer. So in my pocket here, so I got my bottle. This is a 750 ml bottle, and it's got 150 grams of sugar in, and that's all I'm having today on my 1.5 hour ride. Now, the fueling as well as the sugar water, so sugar water is my staple. I have vegan gummy sweets like this. So yeah, always vegan. And say for these are made of yeah, so they've got the way that they make these, it's good because it's got the sugar in the form that you need. And when I say that, I'll explain it with the gel, okay? So you might have heard of these gels here, like this. So this is from SIS. So essentially it's almost like a jelly, I suppose. So you just rip the top off and you squeeze it into your mouth, and it's like a slush. So I don't recommend gels, mostly because they're only, if you look at the ingredients, they're usually only maltodextrin, and that means if you look at the nutritional information on the back, it'll only say carbohydrate, and basically it'll say no sugar. So I'd avoid those types because, as I say, you want glucose and fructose. So pretty much the only gel that I've had in my experience that I'd recommend is these beta fuel. I think if you're American, you might say beta, or correct me in the comments. But these have got fructose in as well, these gels. So yeah, so if you did want to have something with maybe a bit more of a processed taste, so I don't mind the taste of these, but you can have these during your ride and potentially before it if you want. But I'd always keep the staple of the sugar water during the ride, the most important fuel source. And then as it gets hotter, as I mentioned at the beginning, you can use things like this. The gummy sweets, again, same thing. And I wouldn't recommend probably more than 2, 3 of these at the most an hour, but really, yeah, 2 at the most really, because I found that you can get GI, I've had GI issues with them, but as long as you stick with sugar water, you never get problems with sugar water. Now, I don't recommend bananas out while you're riding because from personal experience, I don't think that these actually have enough sugar in them. So if you're fueling with a banana, you're going to need several. So there's a bit of a caveat with that, I suppose. So if you're going to use bananas, you need to take a rucksack full of them with you if you're doing anything more than an hour. And even for an hour, I would not recommend banana. They don't have enough sugar in them. And I've tried fueling with bananas and it didn't go well. And the sugar water has saved me, along with white rice. So the two staples that I go for, sugar water and white rice. And if you go with that, you'll never go wrong. It's got all the sugar that you need, and it's got all the nutrients that you need, and it's got the macronutrients in the proportions that you need. Now, like and subscribe, and you'll be able to check out the other videos on going into the science of what I talk about, and you'll be able to see that everything that I say in terms of weight loss and being fit and using the power meter, you'll be able to see it works because I'm a living example. So you can trust me. I test what I do, and then that's the proof. And yeah, you might say, well, I'm just a example of one. Well, I am a human being just like you, so there's that, and I am my own control. If we talk about the scientific method, I am my own control. Okay, so yeah, stick around, check out the other videos, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you got anything else you want to ask me, put it in the comments, and this will boost your performance. Yeah, boosting performance will increase your life quality, and that's what I'm here for. Increase my life quality, and then I increase yours. So yeah. And the other thing about the banana is if it gets squished in your pocket before you get to it, it's a mess, isn't it? So yeah, you don't want that. Squished banana is not very nice to clean. Anyway, cheers, I'll see you in the next one.